let me make sure I'm actually on the stream to see this.
Kabam! You might miss it. It's just arrows, man. It's just
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, it's so sudden that I'm not gonna be able to see it.
no. It's like I put work into this stuff. Okay, I mean, you know, and they can hear us now, by the way.
Oh,
So
I see it. Oh,
ooh,
okay.
ooh.
Ooh, fancy.
Now the last thing I need to update is our current overlay. But I wouldn't do that without you because
Eh,
I want your input on that one.
right.
But I have ideas.
Sounds good. But anyways, what's up, nerds, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch 2 and competitive Overwatch. I, of course, am your host, Emily Drunk, and joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Spyder. And Spyder, we have the Pro-Am underway. We are in the middle of week 2. We've gotten a couple of early answers to some of the questions we've had about some of these teams. We've also getting to gauge a little bit about like how these contender teams are doing against the Overwatch League teams, primarily like in regards to like, okay, who's going to get the win before uh Vegas Eternal turns out quite a few of the contender teams, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise based off of what our expectations for Vegas were going into the start of the season. But with that being said, of course, we are about 4 weeks ish away from the start of the Overwatch League. This is kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
first kind of like the preseason in some regards to the Overwatch League. So nice to actually have some competitive Overwatch to watch for a little bit. It's a nice side distraction, and just really having fun with it so far.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the pro am. I watched quite a bit of it last week. I didn't catch all the games today. I caught bits and pieces, just because Thursdays are really hectic for us. Like the kids
Mhm.
have a bunch of stuff in the morning, and then Logan has karate in the afternoon. But we are changing that to Wednesdays next week. So, booyah! Thursday night free. Um, so it'll help support my Overwatch addiction. But
Mhm.
as far as like the pro am goes, I'm really enjoying it. Like the contenders teams have surprised the heck out of me. I knew they would be able to hang with some of the lower teams, like the Vegas Eternals, but to see them pushing some of like the Atlantas and stuff like um, even I don't know. They did okay against Florida. They did okay against Atlanta. Like Florida more so kind of steamrolled them, but
Mhm.
like obviously a team beating the Shock initially was a shock. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Um, but the pro am's been a lot of fun so far. I do want to go back and watch today's games because this is actually the week I'm really interested in because this is the week for the teams that we had a lot of questions about, like the Outlaws and the Gladiators. So last week we kind of knew that Atlanta was going to be good. Florida surprised us, but we kind of had an inkling that Florida was going to be, better than they had been. Um,
Mhm.
so, and we knew Shock would eventually get it together. Like, I made the joke like the first day when Shock went 0-2 that they're washed, but obviously that's a joke. Like, there's too much talent on that team, especially with Krusty. Like, it's just and we'll get into it, but it's just clear that they haven't scrimmed and they were playing on ping. But we'll talk about that. But other than that, playing some Overwatch. I played some Overwatch on the stream before this. Did the event, knocked that out. Another perfect pacing for an event because it literally took me an hour to go through all of the challenges. So
Okay.
you know I can't complain about that. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Digging into Valheim. Other than that, playing Destiny.
Mhm.
Rest in peace, Commander Zavala. Lance Reddick. That hit the Destiny community very hard. Um, but other than that, just hanging out, enjoying the occasional warm weather. I know you're in like the Midwest, so you don't know what that is for another 2 months. But
Yeah, being in Chicago, we basically have the opportunity to have snow through June, so
right,
it's
but in Maryland, in Maryland we have what's known as second summer and then second winter. It's definitely like the hobbits kind of thing. So we have transitioned through second winter, and now we are slowly starting to get into our 1 week of spring, and then it's going to be hot as balls for 4 months. So, but what about you, man? How I know you've kicked Twitch to the side and moved. Been busy the past week.
Yeah, like obviously there's been a lot of discussion in regards to streaming in general. Now that Kick has started to gain a lot more traction, over these past few weeks. So, I've been messing around over there for a little bit. Actually, I hit affiliate over on my channel earlier this evening, which was great.
Ooh.
Which honestly, like I got to affiliate a lot quicker on Kick than I did on Twitch whenever I was streaming on Twitch. But it's been a very intriguing thing just keeping a tab on that streaming service, because obviously like over the years we've seen a lot of these other startups come and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too worried about Kick in that regard, just because they do have the whole gambling background. We're talking
They
about
they've
big
got the
money on the
money.
table. So I'm not too worried about that. It's more, there are definitely some aspects in regards to legality. So it's just a matter of like, when are they going to start to put their foot down on some of that stuff.
When
But
is
I've
when
what's
is
up?
DMCA gonna come knocking on their door?
Yeah, that's really the big question. But I've really been enjoying the platform. I've met a ton of great people already. I've basically been doing a mix of like watch parties. I've also been streaming a ton of like music, which is great,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice to see. And just like letting it run for a while. But yeah, I mean, I've really been enjoying it. I've met a lot of the some of the other creators that I've followed on like other channels that have moved over to Kick as well, which is great to see.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely been it, it's it's been a roller coaster, because there's definitely some things that are on that streaming platform that are a little bit more risque. So
Well, when
when it
there's no
comes to,
TS.
yeah, like, so when you see a lot of these streamers who have spicy sites,
Mm-hmm.
they can definitely
For their
get away
OnlyFans.
with a little bit more. Yeah. Which is, it's there. But obviously, like the big thing with Kick versus Twitch has been the like sub, revenue
The revenue, yeah.
differentials for the creator versus what's actually going to the platform, and that's really been like the driving factor for a lot of people actually making the adjustment. But I'm enjoying my time there. I still have to like see how like Overwatch does and some of the other games that I like to play. But obviously, like a lot of that site is still very heavily regarded in regards to like the gambling aspect and like just chatting and things like that. But there's a lot of room for growth on the platform, and I'm going to be keeping my eyes on and streaming pretty frequently, a lot more than what I had been. Honestly, I've streamed more there the past week than I have probably in the past like 3 years, to be honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no restrictions, so you can stream whatever you want. My worry was the DMCA and
Hmm.
the the fact that it is gambling owned. I'm worried that as far as like actual gaming goes, that's gonna get
Hmm.
like, we don't care about that. That we're not making money for that. So that's going to go at the bottom of the page. But it's good to hear that you're getting growth doing non-gambling things. My only suggestion is play Genshin Impact, and then you've got video games and gambling together, and boom, you know,
Yeah, I gotta get the gotcha games in there.
get the gotcha game. Yeah, exactly. Honkai Star Rail is like their next one, and that comes out soon. So boom, pop on a new game. But yeah, I'm glad to hear Kick's going well. I'm a little more hesitant than you at it,
Hmm.
but I am definitely keeping my eye on it for sure. Because at the end of the day, we we don't want to be screaming into the void unless it's to
Hmm.
get Slambo back. So more audience is always appreciated. That's why I spent the last 4 hours trying to set up the stream so that I can stream to two sites instead of one, and
Hmm.
also go to TikTok and record YouTube Shorts live on the fly. Like you know the meta discussion is like a whole thing YouTubers have to worry about, and we're not even there yet. So I can't even imagine. Like I talked to a couple of I'd say medium-sized YouTubers, like 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers. I guess that would still put them in like the upper
Hmm.
tier of subscribers, not like the Omega upper tier, like XQC or anything like that. But even there, like, dude, the algorithm's like such a bitch. Like, I can put out like one video and it'll take my channel for a month. So, um, I hope we don't ever have to worry about that. We'll just become naturally super popular. But beyond that, maybe this past 20 minutes, we should probably talk about Overwatch a little more. Now that we are live on two sites saying that we are playing Overwatch.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, we're kind of like towards the tail end of Patch and Marchie. And I'll be honest, like I've been really busy the past couple of weeks, so I really haven't had an opportunity to check it out. I know the arcade mode is still in there, so maybe
Hmm.
I'll hop on and do some rounds and maybe be able to knock out all the challenges because you mentioned it only took you about an hour in this case. But looks like in regards to like the collectibles for the events, you can get them through April 4th. So, we still got, quite a full week, but it's definitely plenty of time for me to actually go in, hop in, just knock it out in a day or whatever, then
Hmm.
basically peace out until the next thing we got going on. But Pechi Marchi is always a pretty fun event. I mean, obviously, like the Pachimari just in general. For me, like those sort of collectibles are ones I try to seek out more, a lot more than others. Heck, I own a lot more Pachimarchi, like Pachimari,
Stuff.
like cosmetics, like out, like IRL, than I
Right,
do some of the
exactly.
other like Overwatch collectibles, which also aids into this event, which is nice to see.
Yeah, no, the event is great. Like, I'm only gonna say this for so many events, and then it's just gonna become the norm. But like the structure of the event is much better. Like you said, it only took me an hour, and
Hmm.
probably like 15 minutes, I guess, to get all of them done because I did play, I guess, a little bit when it first launched. Like, I think I played 2 games. I played a game and a half because one game it put me in there and we were down by like 15, and then the next game, uh, but it the cosmetics are good. There's a good variety of them. Like, you get the Roadhog skin, you get nameplates, you get icon badges, all Pachimari themed. So if you like Pachimari, that it it's quite rewarding. The One Punch Man event is actually still going on too, so you can actually double dip if you haven't done either one of them. You can get them both done at the same time, um, because the wins from the event count towards the wins for One Punch Man. So you can actually knock both of them out fairly quickly, because the actual game mode, the games only last like 5 minutes. So whether you're getting stomped or even like the closest game I had, I think was 7 minutes. And that was like 29 or 19 to 20, as the
Hmm.
score line. So and most people don't care. Like, there was like one person raging because they were playing ball and our team picked Sombra May, like Moira, and just proceeded to shit on him. But beyond that, like, most people don't care. Like, there was one game we played like Soldier, Hanzo, Genji, and obviously with no heroes, who is just constantly throwing down like those health stations. But we lost, but it was fun, and everybody's like, "All right, GG." So it's a fun event. I like these micro events. I like that they've kind of loosened the purse strings, as
Hmm.
which we'll actually talk about a little more in the next bit, because that was a big part of the developer blog. But it's a cool event. Try it out. You've got a few more days. I think like it ends, I think, next week, right? So you've got
Yeah, April
till
4th.
Tuesday. And like I said, it takes you an hour. So, dude, just knock it out, man.
Yeah, so on top of being able to knock it out quick, I mean, you also get a pretty sizable amount of XP
Yeah,
doing the event too. It's like up to like I think it's close to like 80,000.
yeah. There was one game that I went from like 98 to like 104 on the battle pass because I literally got like 60,000 experience. It was nuts, and I'm like, dude, maybe I should just play this for the next week, and maybe I can get that title, because I've kind of given up on like the end title at this point because there's only 11 days left in the season.
Right.
Which I didn't realize that until tonight. Like, I was like, the new
Hmm.
season has to be coming up soon, but we haven't heard
Yeah, which
anything.
yeah, like that's the thing too. It's like we're a week and a half out. We're supposed to be getting a new hero. You know,
And we haven't heard shit
we
about.
haven't heard anything outside
They're
of,
very
oh
cute.
yeah, they're cute.
Yeah, they're very cute. So, oh well, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, it's a cool fun event. Just go and play it.
Yeah, I'll give it a couple hours probably after we're done here. Before I crash and throw on some music over on Kick, and we'll see how quickly I can knock it out, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like finish my battle pass in time for the
Mm.
season, but I don't know. It is what it is. If I don't get the mythic, so be it.
I'm so mad because they were like, "Here's this awesome mythic Kiriko skin. Here's a Tatsumagi Kiriko skin." Well,
Hmm.
never gonna use the mythic skin because I'm a weeb. Oh well,
Yeah.
it do be like that sometimes. But yeah, um, the Roadhog skin is actually really good. The one complaint I have, and it has almost nothing to do with the event, is the Roadhog skin is so high quality. It makes the Overwatch League skins look awful. Because like
Mm.
it's so high, like the stomach detail is so like on the Pachimari is so high definition. You're like, well, why didn't you do that for the Overwatch decals? Like,
Hmm.
what the hell, guys?
Yeah, maybe if they matched it, people would have a little bit more incentive to actually go out of the way to grab the Roadhog skins.
Yeah, maybe. Otherwise, we're all gonna be Doomfists or Reinhardt. I still think Reinhardt has the best looking Overwatch League skins.
Mhm. Which, like, this is another rant incoming, but obviously, like the pro am is going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you log into the YouTube, and of course,
Only the
looking
YouTube.
over, you're looking over at the chat, and it's like, oh yeah, viewership incentives are ineligible for the pro am. And then you log into the game, and you're like, all right, you're looking at the bundles, they're all like 350, and it's like I'm sitting at 325. I'm just like, well, I can't do anything with this. And then like every so often, during a broadcast, they're like posting a poll with a couple of different redeem codes, but they only put like two or three,
Mm-hmm.
which are one-time use only for literally everyone watching the broadcast. And it's just like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
No, apparently, like the whole like production is like so up in the air right now. Like we were gonna talk about it, but I couldn't find any like concrete stuff on it. But they have like a new production company actually managing it, and I couldn't figure out who it was. Like they talked about it on Plat Chat. Like there is a new production company,
okay.
and it is an esports production company. But that is it. Like I even tweeted at them like, who is running the league? And obviously they were probably pretty busy today, so no nobody responded to me, or they just didn't care. I'm gonna go
we
with
we need we need we need to get Sean Mills on the podcast.
yeah, exactly. But um, so that's why like the first day everything was like super janky. Like the cameras kept switching back and things didn't look quite right. And the stream quality was really bad on the mainstream, but okay on the contenders stream. Um, so the, apparently there's like the new production company on it, and even the talent, like they didn't outright say it, but they pretty much alluded to like the talent assumed that they were going to be on both YouTube and Twitch, and then like a couple days before, or maybe even the night before, they were like, "It's only on YouTube. Like that's it. It's just YouTube." And they were, and I think it was Lemon Kiwi even pointed out like the contenders blog post said Twitch and YouTube, um,
Mhm.
but then it was only YouTube. So it seems like there might be some behind the scenes negotiations going on. So maybe we will get to Twitch by the season. Like maybe they're trying to work something out. I can hope. But yeah, it's pretty bad right now. Like I can probably do like a whole rant on like the quality and how shit it is and the production and stuff like that because I have a background in production, so I kind of know.
Mhm.
Obviously, I don't know the specifics of Overwatch League, but I do have um, enough production knowledge to know that they are not doing what they should be doing. It's very weird. Oh, and that was the other thing is like apparently they only stream on YouTube at like 8K bit rate, and I'm like, dude, I'm streaming from my house at 30K bit rate to YouTube. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you definitely have the money to get at least 12K, maybe 30K, stuff like that. So I don't know. That's a whole nother rant. Maybe
Mm.
maybe that's a video idea because I need some YouTube content. Like I actually have the video set up for the new character. Um, I have it ready. I just need footage to throw in there. Like I
Mm.
have it all ready to go. Like I did all the fancy shit for it. So I need more YouTube. Like I need more generic YouTube content. Like, hi, my name's Frito, and this is your Overwatch today. Streamer said this, and I don't want to do that kind of content. I want to do fun content. So,
Mm.
but anyway,
Yeah,
a
like the
little
maid
off track.
shorts.
Yeah, yeah. More May shorts. Oh, the
As we enraged the entire community.
the very first game I played, I didn't not tonight. I mean, I did it tonight, and I played May in the Pachamari. But the first game I played when it first launched, I didn't stream,
Mhm.
and I played May. And the other team was so mad that I played May, they like all rage quit. Like no lie, three of them rage quit after we hit 10 points because it was on Kanazaka, and they kept walking into like the little buildings, and I would just wall off the exit, and then we would just kill two of them, and then the other one would be left there, and then we would kill him. So I love May, and I am so happy that she is part of the meta right now because I'm like, yay, pro May, and then I'm like, oh, they're just wall bots, but yay,
Mhm.
May.
Yeah, it's not like going back to like the sniper May days,
No, 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 no.
like what we had in years past.
They're just walling and left clicking.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, remember when they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna remove all the CC in the game. Yeah, it turns out, still kind of the same stuff.
turns out Fortnite's a very popular game, even in Overwatch.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
man.
why we're even forcing them to change their sprays for being too close to the ones in Overwatch.
Yeah, I did hear about that. That's pretty funny. Oh well. All right. So what's
It
next?
was only a matter of time. Next we have the new dev vlog or director's take that was posted by Aaron Keller earlier in the week. This is about, I think it was posted last Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Basically going over primarily some of like the common topics from the community. Obviously, like one of the bigger highlighted ones on that was in regards to the state of support heroes, and a lot of the common complaints that we've been seeing from within the community. And they kind of like jotted down some of the basic problems that we've been seeing. And how they're hoping to address it. Basically, looking at reducing the ability for damage heroes to disrupt the back line to target supports. Also, giving supports additional tools to deal with the threats. Turns out dying just isn't the
It's
only
not fun.
option. But yeah, yeah. Who would have guessed? Just getting constantly harassed in the back line isn't fun as a support player. But yeah, what I love about this is this italicized portion of this. Exercise some restraint. And they're like, oh yeah, well, people are still trying to, get accustomed to, swap to 5v5. And when I see something like that, I'm just thinking like, well, it's been a while, guys. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Like the only one that is still yelling about 5v5 is Samito. Um,
Mhm.
Other than that, I think everybody's pretty much accustomed to how it plays at this point. Not everybody's happy with it, but everybody's pretty much accustomed at this point to how it's played. So I think, and I think they kind of alluded to this in this blog post and other like interviews and stuff like they've done with streamers and stuff. They're ready to kind of pull the trigger on some more radical changes along with more reworks. Um, so I think that was fine during like the first season and maybe even part of the second season, but dude, we're at the end of the third season by now. You've got to be like, okay, we started out slow, but we're ready to make some big changes. So I'm glad to hear that at least they are willing to entertain the idea of some more radical changes, because we don't want another like Sojourn situation where they're like, we're gonna nerf her, she's still good. We're gonna nerf her, she's still good. We're gonna nerf her but buff her in a different way. Okay, well now she's better than she was before, especially if you add a mercy to her. Like,
Mhm.
no, like, dude, just roadhog her. Like, that is like just dumpster her. Like, when you have a character that is really good for a season, that's fine. It's okay to put them on the back burner for the next season. Um, People may not like it if they only main that character, but they'll get over it. So, yeah, that part was a little interesting. I do like how they're still tweaking the passives, because they talked about
Mhm.
how they change the passive pretty frequently up until even the last season. So I do like that. I I wish they would have addressed the fact that they kind of went a little too far with supports. Um, because supports are actually all really strong right now. Like a support shouldn't be like insta kill if you get dove, but right now it is almost impossible to kill two supports that are supporting each other, unless they are the only two people left. Like,
Mhm.
there is almost no room for like flanky dive comps at all right now. There are certain maps where we're seeing like Winston and stuff work out, but even then, those are like hard engage Winston comps. That works at like the high level, because you have people that talk to each other, which they go on to address in the blog as well. Like, people are not communicating as much as they used to. And we've heard that echoed from Overwatch League players. Like, Dante complains about that constantly. He's like, this new Zoomer generation of Overwatch League pros just go into comp and mute voice chat and just you know go through the game. So
Mhm.
that's interesting. But yeah, I think they need to, as much as like, I don't want to say it. I think they need to scale back supports at a certain point. Like, maybe just lower their healing a little bit, because there are multiple times like at our skill level that like I would go to kill an Ana as an Echo, and I would miss one sticky bomb, and then a Mercy would fly in, the Ana would nade, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll come back in 30 seconds, kind of thing. So, um, yeah, it's pretty strong, but
Yeah,
I'm glad
it's one of
they're
those
looking at.
situations where you're just back to square one at that point.
Yeah, exactly. They did talk about competitive a little more. I don't personally play competitive anymore, but it's nice to see that they're still looking at it and improving it. And what was like the big one? They're bringing back like the team rankings. I guess is what I wrote down. They don't want to show individual rankings, but they want to show team rankings again. Um, and players will see their progress now as they win and lose to like better ranks. Um,
Mhm.
so it's the old system without numbers attached, I guess. I'm curious to see how that goes, but at least they're taking feedback. And I will give them this, like, they talk about how their communication has kind of lapsed or hasn't been as good as they wanted it to be, and it's improving. But I will say that they are making changes to the competitive system at a pretty rapid pace.
Mhm.
Obviously not fast for some people, but um, like every season we're getting like fixes to competitive. So I am happy about that. Like I said, I don't play competitive, but it's that trickles down to other parts of the game.
It does, and I'm still waiting to see whether or not they're going to add more incentive to actually play competitive, at least in regards
Hmm.
to like the cosmetic side of the game. Because one of the other things here we're talking about is just trying to speed up the process in regards to getting more rewards into the players' hands through comp as well.
It just in general, I think they said too. I know they talked about like a progression system. Like, I think a couple of times I've heard a couple of developers say like a hero based progression system, which would
Mhm.
be cool, because you, like we've talked about it on the show. Like, you get like tracer specialist as like a title or something like that, and you log in and people see that and you're on tracer and they go, oh shit, this guy's probably pretty good at tracer, kind of thing. they also talked about like just general rewards, like playing the game and information, um, like to help you improve. They also said that they're trying to rebuild the on fire system, which is just like a okay, cool, like, um, but something is still there because characters still say that they are on fire. Even the new ones say that they are on fire if you do certain things. So there is still some of that system already there. So I'm curious to see what they have to rebuild. But overall, like this blog post was pretty much like a hey, we hear you, we're working on it kind of thing. And I that's fine for like every 6 months blog post, but the next blog post better not be, hey, we hear you in the past 2 weeks. We're working on it. Like, I will only let that go so many times till I start, being like, okay, well, what are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
so,
Well,
um,
they're working on the next hero, Spider. Don't you know?
who's very cute. We've been over this. Their characteristics are they are very cute. They have wacky mechanics apparently,
Mhm.
and that's it. That's all we
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in. See you next. No, just kidding. All
But
right.
hey, at least in 2 weeks we'll actually know what the heck is going on in that
I
case. But anyways,
I would assume like probably I actually thought we'd get something today on it.
I,
Like
I, I that's what I was expecting, but nope.
like the little Baptiste, like not the full story. Like I figured the full story would come next week, but I figured we'd
Mhm.
get like the little, like, you remember when Doomfist came out and like New Bonnie Airport just got trashed one day. Like you logged in and the airport was trashed and they still haven't fixed it. Like, come on, New Body City Structure, like you should really
I
fix
mean,
that by now.
it did take them a really long time to actually fix the airport. And
Right.
then
So
even when it did get fixed, they had to disable Numbani like right after that too. So
right. So um but I thought we would get something today for it, like just like a little teaser or something. But no, I guess that's gonna come next week, and then the week after. Like I assume next week we're gonna get it all at once. Like it's gonna be like I forget who they did it with. Maybe it was Kiriko, where they were like, here's the teaser. Next day, here's like the video. Next day is the gameplay overview, and then like the last day was like the cinematic or something. Um, I assume that's what they'll do again, because I don't think Overwatch has really ever released a hero without like some kind of hubbub about it. So
mhm.
we'll see.
Absolutely. All right. Well, shifting gears back to the competitive side of the game, we did have the announcement that Calling All Heroes is set to return in 2023 and 2024 with the Challenger series. I know they'd mentioned
Mm-hmm.
this earlier in the broadcast today for the Pro Am. Basically just kind of like going over what we're going to be doing. We kind of got the idea of what the calendar is going to be looking like in regards to the schedule. And again, they're talking about these qualifiers being hosted by third-party organizers. So I got to see if there's more details on that. But it looks like the event itself will be taking place between April through November of this year, and then we're gonna have a championship event hosted by Blizzard in February of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you got a last chance qualifier being at the start of next year as well. But yeah, we got all the dates, some details. We know how many teams are going to be competing. They are doing Swiss play in regards to the tournament, at least for the opening stage. After that, we move into a single elimination bracket. And there is $10,000 in prizing up for grabs for this tournament. And all in all,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously there were quite a few eyes on CAH this past season. Obviously, that also kind of like tied into a lot of the off-season discussion revolving around the New York Excelsior, and there was a little bit of drama on that front, which we'll kind of like go into because we did get our first look at the New York Excelsior earlier today, and they didn't really go completely in that direction that they were alluding
Mm-hmm.
to at this point in time. But I'm really interested to see how many of these Overwatch League teams are going to continue to support Calling All Heroes because that was a pretty big part of the tournament this past year.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely popped off in terms of like viewership, engagement, everything like that. So it's nice to see that they're kind of like doubling down on it because they found obviously any company that finds something that works and brings goodwill to the company, especially a company like Blizzard right now needs all the goodwill it can get. Um, I think it's smart to double down on it. They expanded it by a lot. Like instead of one tournament, we're getting multiple tournaments, and then like a championship. So that's awesome. The first, not the first, but I guess it is the first. But um, one of the teams behind it is Radiant, which is like a female led like esports just like inclusive group. They are the ones that will put on the production and you know I don't know if they're like sponsors or production producers. I guess a producer is like a good word for it because they're going to do a little bit of everything there. So Radiant will do multiple things through the year. They also said it's going to be hosted by other groups as well. So this is going to be cool. Um, I'm just glad they're bringing it back because like the as fun as Overwatch League is to watch. Um,
Mm.
Not good Overwatch or less pro Overwatch is also very fun to watch as well. And if you watch the Vegas Eternal last week, you'll understand why. Because it is just like a cacophony of fun plays. Like why would you do that? Like what the hell? Like even today, the Justice. I have problems with the Justice because that
Mm.
was one of the games I made sure to catch, and I'm like, hey, the Justice looked pretty good, except for this. Like any other team would probably have picked them apart. So, uh, but yeah, and bringing support to marginalized groups as well, I think just is a win-win. So I am super excited for this. I have to say, like, as dry as the Overwatch space has been the past couple of years with just like it's Overwatch League and that's it. This year we've got like so much shit going on to cover. Like we've got like
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch League, we've got World Cup, we've got this now. Contenders for the 7 fans that are still out there, kind of thing. So, uh, if you're an Overwatch fan, thank you for sticking with us.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, like you're actually eating pretty good this year.
Yeah, and they're also like outside of like the tournament structure here for Colonial Heroes. They're introducing the speaker series, which is kind of like
Mm-hmm.
their way to try to get more people in regards to like a caster type
Mm-hmm.
camp. Trying to branch out more, help with like the broadcasting side of the thing. So trying to find some more observers to potentially pull into their esports ecosystem. In regards to that, it's also going to help a lot with the content creation side of Overwatch, which is great to see. And all this is happening. They have like a registration open
Yeah.
for this. I'll have to keep a closer eye on this to see what exactly all of this is going to entail. But I would love to just like hop in and learn how to observe the game better for like lotteries and things like that, because it's not really something I've had an opportunity to really dive into here.
Yeah, and observing's quite difficult. Like as much shit as we give the observers, I do not want that job.
Hmm.
For Overwatch, it is hard to observe effectively. Um, so I mean, if you can learn how to do it and get good at it, that would be awesome. And the fact that they're trying to increase that, I think shoutcasting, broadcasting in general can be rather difficult. So, um, you know, bringing more talent in is always a good thing. Assuming that eventually, if they do decide to go that route with the talent, they continue
Hmm.
to treat them well. Um, but that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, this whole tournament, this whole event, I guess at this point, is great. Like it. I have nothing negative to say about it, which is weird for me.
All right, well, moving on, of course, we've been talking a little bit about the Pro Am West, which kicked off this past week. We are currently in the middle of week 2. But we already have our first four teams who have qualified, and
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, all four of them are out of the Overwatch League for groups A and B. So in groups A, we had the Florida Mayhem and the San Francisco Shock advancing, and then in group B it was the Atlanta Rain and the London Spitfire. So
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like looking at the overall standings for the teams that didn't like advance. You had the Titans and Saints, who both finished 2-2. Timeless, the LA Valiant, and Trick Room all finished 1-3. The only team that failed to pick up a win was the Vegas Eternal.
Youch. And they also only won one map. Like,
hmm
who did they win the map against? Was it? Oh, it's the Valiant. Go figure. The other shit team. Um, so yeah, I mean, it. I kind of talked about it a little at the beginning of the show, so I won't rehash too much of that. But like I said, we knew Atlanta would be good. Florida, we had an inkling would be decent. I don't think we were in any. I at least didn't have any idea that they would be as dominant as they are, and I hope to see them continue that, because we all love main character arcs from anime, and someone definitely has that main character energy right now. So that's a lot of fun. Shock battling back, it's cool. They had a rough first day. Um, Obviously, losing to a contenders team is never a good look, and I think that kind of lit a fire under their ass. Our Krusty just took away their meals. Who
hmm
knows what happened?
And
Um,
it wasn't just that Spider, but it was also just the fact that they were the first team to drop a
two,
game against the contenders teams. On top of that, like out of all of
hmm
the teams in this tournament, that would have been the last team that you would expect that to happen to.
right. So, um, but we got to see Sugar Free play. He did pretty well. Like the Titans looked pretty good. Finishing 2-2 and eventually falling to the Shock at the end was a little rough to watch because I was like, oh come on, this is your moment, like step it up, and they just got bodied by the Shock that game. Like Sugar Free tried, but I have higher hopes for the Titans this year than I had in the past. Um, I don't have anything nice to say about the Eternal. I wish I did, but they just I don't know, like they should have played better, I guess. Just play better forehead. Like if you want to see how bad the Eternal did in like full context, go watch like somebody edited all the clips of Avast together reacting to the Eternal. And there's one point where he just goes off stream and you see his camera and he just lays down on his bed because he can't watch it anymore. There, it was bad. Um, the Valiant looked okay ish. Not great. I don't want to like put them on the same tier as like Vancouver or anything like that. But they didn't look as bad as people made them out to be. Like because they were like the team like all the contenders teams wanted to play against because I guess they wanted to shit on them. And for the most part, kind of happened, but it wasn't the worst. They did pick up one win against the Vegas Eternal, but uh, I guess the big story is like the contenders teams, right? Like Trick Room, Timeless, and the Saints all did fairly well. So I was impressed with all of them. Like they definitely answered the question like can contenders teams hang with Overwatch League teams? Um, if the Overwatch team is playing like shit and they are a good team, absolutely. Like I think that first day it answered all of those questions. Like that first match with Trick Room and San Francisco, or was it? Yeah, it was Trick Room in San Francisco, not Timeless. I get those two confused. Um, because the Shock played like shit and Trick Room took advantage of it. So that was phenomenal to watch. Um, so I don't think there's going to be any more of those questions now. Now I kind of wished the Saints would have made it out. Like that was like my big sticking point is I really wanted the Saints to continue. Like I wanted any of them to continue, but I thought the Saints had the best chance because we keep hearing about like how goated Tree is, and we know how good King and Mikey are. Like we know those are two confident players, but we kept hearing about Tree. Tree is the next proper. Tree is the next proper, and they talked about it on the broadcast. He did great, but it wasn't like blow your pants off phenomenal. It was like, yeah, that guy looks pretty good. Oh hey, we have a Ramses. Boop.
We do.
Let's fix.
Let's
things.
bring him into the call.
Hi, everybody.
What's going on, Ramses?
Hello.
We are talking about week 1 of the Pro-Am.
A very successful week 1 for the Houston Outlaws. I totally had faith in the whole time. That's me. Successful week 1.
That's week 2, buddy.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah,
there
They
yet.
didn't even play in week 1.
Oh.
So,
But, he's basically just saying that, they didn't have the opportunity to disappoint him. So, it was
Not
a
yet.
win in his eyes.
Not yet.
week 1 was one of the few instances where it was indeed not Houstonable.
But more importantly, week 1 was finally the time that we saw our baby boy come a man.
He was there.
I don't know about you guys, but, as soon as, we saw Sugar Free off, doing other esports, I was like, oh, man.
No.
Our son is abandoning us. He's not gonna come back. And then it's he's coming back to like fill in contenders for like these playoff teams. I'm like, oh, there's a chance. And then finally it gets picked up for the Overwatch League. We're like, okay, I can finally have a sigh of relief. We can breathe again. Everything's good, and we can just chill now.
It was great. He played pretty well too. In the games they won, he looked really good. Very happy to see him in there. That duo with him and Spyder is really good.
It's pretty nasty, and I have a feeling they're only going to get better once the team gets a little more like cohesion, because like Punk and Crimzo seem to be on like the same wavelength. So if they can pull everybody else into like that wavelength, I think this team could be an upper mid team, like for sure. Like this could be our gatekeeping team for the year. Like this could be our new like London Spitfire team.
I mean, we'll see. They have the talent to definitely like. This is probably the best Vancouver team since Titans Vancouver.
Yeah, since Runaway.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, the first week was good. Like production jank aside, the actual matches were all pretty entertaining. Outside of the Eternal matches, which were entertaining for a different reason.
Entertaining in a much different way.
Like you just need like the Benny Hill theme playing constantly, or like the circus clown music, like do 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 do. Like I don't know. I want the Eternal to do better, but it looks like they're going to be a punching bag team again this year.
Somebody has to be.
Just don't bet it all on Black or on them. It's not happening.
Not on Crawley.
I'm still interested. Like, I wonder how. Like, we know Gator's the head coach for Atlanta Reign this season, and I want to know what the strats are. Because if you also told me that it's just like Hawk and Lip do whatever, and then the other three kind of also do whatever, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
They took. Here's the strategy, right? They took San Francisco's strategy from last year, which was proper go kill, and now it's Lip Stalker go kill.
Yeah,
that's it. That is the strategy. That is it. Meanwhile, Chio and Fielder in the back will keep you alive, and whoever is in on tank, whether it's Hawk or Donghak, as long as they don't die, Lip Stalker go kill will work, because Lip. And they mentioned it on broadcast multiple times. Lip is fucking scary, dude. Like no matter what character he played, he was a menace to every other team.
Mhm. You know, as someone who wasn't huge on Stalker last season, he played really well last week.
Hmm. Well, when the whole team's like, "What do we do about Lip?" Stalker basically could do whatever the hell he wanted to half of the time. Like Lip was just running around as Sombra or Cassidy and just clicking heads, so Stalker was free to do whatever he wanted. And
I don't know if you guys.
I don't want to like disrespect Stalker. Like Stalker did play phenomenally.
I did also think this is probably the best Florida's ever looked as a team.
I'd agree with that.
Someone was ridiculous all weekend. He seems to have made that jump. Merritt also made the jump where like dude was just clicking people all the time. That team is. It's one of those ones where I think everyone's gonna look back and be like, "How the heck did they get this roster back for like relatively cheap?"
After the games today, where the Outlaws said, "Do we want Happy or do we want Merritt?" and they chose Happy, I think they fucked up.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too. Literally, Spyder, Totem was there with me when I was like, when they get rid of this entire team, they're gonna probably keep Merritt. Not even Pelican. Like they'll probably keep Merritt.
Right.
The one rookie that we kept from everything.
Chad Mate continued to do Chad Mate things. Like he has progressively gotten better. What about Sauna? Like Sauna got slept on because he only played the last game for like a map because he had just got there and he was like jet lagged to shit and they were pulling his stuff out of like a suitcase and he looked great on Tracer. Like he styled on him. So I think you're right. I think this team is going to be very, very scary. RuPaul and Chorong surprised me too. Like Chorong did okay last season, and we knew like he got the bag, and we knew he was supposedly like this big player. But him and RuPaul looked so in sync, and that's surprising because, we don't know how much Korean RuPaul knows. So the fact that they were able to communicate so well. I assume RuPaul's learning Korean, or at least knows enough to be functional, because most of the other members of his team are Korean outside of Sauna. So I'm curious to see how things go moving forward. I said that someone has like that anime main character energy, so I think he could be our fearless this season, and that could be great to watch. Like that's just going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
My phone keeps blowing up. I need to make a phone call.
Woo! All right.
So I'm gonna turn off my camera for a bit.
Spyder, I think the question has to be seen. Like we'll talk. Like I'm sure we'll have this conversation again as we get closer, as we get further onto the season. But you look at some of the guys who performed specifically really well over the course of the tournament. Like I think mostly Boat is the one that a lot of people talked about. Boat played really well.
The boat goat.
I opened up the stream and just seeing a bunch of people yelling that like boat better than proper over and over.
Well, I mean that first day he was, but at the end, I don't think so. Actually, the person who surprised me the most on Trick Room, like I knew Boat was good because I had been watching Trick Room up until this point. Infected really stepped up. Like Infected going toe to toe with Hottie was actually really fun to watch. So there are definitely like a lot of members on these teams. Like the Wub heads, obviously were a big story. Like we got to see Wub pop off. Doomed looked phenomenal. Like there are multiple matches, and Doom plays for Timeless. Like I kind of moved teams, but Doomed looked amazing on DPS. Like as a fellow May enjoyer, his May was really nasty. Like he was landing right clicks left and right. And then we got like Kuffa. Kuffa looked good. I'm trying to think. I talked about Tree already. Like I was a little disappointed in how Tree was so hyped up and then didn't really deliver. False actually surprised me because he was one of the Vancouver Titans punching bags, and now he's back down at Maryville, and he looked pretty good. Um, it's hard when you're next to a tank that literally played in the grand finals last season and was one map away from winning the Overwatch League grand finals.
Mhm.
But him and Mikey both played really well. So I don't know. I told Totem I was a little disappointed that the Saints didn't make it. But I don't know. Like I think they all played some pretty quality games. Um, Timeless did okay, I guess. I'm trying to see which one did the worst, and they all did pretty much the same. Timeless and Trick Room were one win less, but the map scores were fairly even. Like the Saints were 4-5, Timeless was 3-7, Trick Room was 3-7. So, you know, super close. But so, what about you? Any other standouts from week one?
Uh, Bits and pieces of it. It it'll be interesting. And granted, this is that a lot of teams are kind of knocking the rust off. I'm kind of getting back into shape. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see who maintains momentum from this and who comes hot out of the gate and like kind of dips a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I London feels a little bit less imposing than they did last season. Maybe that's just me.
I, I
Um,
I think it's the meta, and we haven't talked about the meta at all because it's kind of all over the place. But um, London definitely still forces that Reinhardt.
mm,
And Hottie said something like Ramacha is like the poor man's brawl when everybody's kind of like, yeah, maybe, but he's the better pick right now. Like if you can play
yeah,
him well. Um, so I feel like that was kind of their downfall. Like who did they lose to? They only lost to
yeah. They only lost to Atlanta,
yeah.
but
So that's not terrible. I mean, they beat now granted the rest of their group was other than the Saints, they had the Valiant and the Eternal, which are kind of two free wins at the moment, especially the Eternal. Um, yeah, I would agree with that though. I don't know. Maybe the novelty has worn off. Like last season, we were like, London, they were such a shit team the year before. Like, let's see what they could do. And then they came out and surprised us. So now we have that expectation of them being decent. Um, and they still look decent, but they haven't really improved, I guess is the best way.
yeah, I think it's a good way of saying it. Like they look, yeah, it's solid, but like and in a year where all the other teams are trying to at least jump leaps and bounds, I don't know if this team is really budged at all.
The one benefit though, and I'm not putting too much stock into the pro am because if the shock has showed us anything, some teams just don't care about the pro am. Like they're not scrimming seriously for it. It's that London has all the same pieces and they added like one new piece, whereas a lot of these
Yeah,
other teams are whole new teams. So there's going to be a lot more, like growing and stuff that needs to be done. So maybe London can maintain consistency, and that'll be enough to get them back in the top 5, top 3. But when you have teams like Atlanta and Florida running around that are double holding spawn room doors,
hmm
you got to start getting worried. So
oh, it'll all come together, Spider. It'll all come together.
it will. Well,
Week two started.
go ahead.
What's up? I would say week two started today, like
Mm-hmm.
as we like the same day we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, got a pretty fun roster of teams to work through. Toronto Defiant, Washington Justice, Houston Outlaws, LA Gladiators, New York Excelsior, and Boston Uprising for the Owl teams. And then for contenders teams, Twisted Minds, Team Peps, Wisp, and Redbird Esports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. So I think it's been the reaction I may be misinterpreting, but the reaction I've seen is that most of the contender teams that were strong were in kind of the A bracket or the stronger contenders teams, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
These are
I know
definitely
Redbird,
like
yeah,
yeah, these are definitely
Red,
like the I don't say bottom of the barrel, but not as strong as like the Saints and stuff outside of Redbird. So
Yeah.
It's been interesting to watch how many of the contender teams have been running a lot of like the Pharaoh compositions and seeing how that deals in regards to like the Overwatch League team, just because they're not really used to going up against those compositions. It turns out, no surprise here, that if you have a Cassidy that can actually stand ground of any sort, really easy to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like a lot of contender teams on that note have been fairly one-dimensional. Because as if they're not able to just have their way with the like rule in disguise, it's just like a 2-0 fest, basically, is what it really has felt like here.
Pretty like I will probably do results for these next time, unless you want to do them today. But by and large, it's been very dominant from the Overwatch League teams, except for like
blips.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say the only non 2-0 was Toronto versus Houston today.
Yeah, and both Toronto and Houston looked good today. Like Houston looked a little shaky against Toronto, but that could have been first game jitters, new team, fearless on lead. Like obviously there's going to be some stuff there, and Toronto is, I think, playing a little bit better than they expected, and Toronto was already warmed up at that point too. Like that's the other thing you have to take in account. Like Toronto had literally just played like 45 minutes before that, so they were still ready. Like they had just stomped the other team. So I'm not putting too much like stock in that. Like I said, I'm not putting too much stock in this whole program, because I think a lot of these teams, like this is their scrim schedule for a lot of these teams. Like they are playing these games as like, okay, let's work out the jank now, and then we'll double down and scrim while this tournament's going on, because we can see in a real live environment what problems we are having against fairly competent teams. But I guess like the big story today was the Gladiators didn't look bad. Like the scrim exchange.
But they told me they were going to look bad. Right. Everyone told me they were going to look bad.
And
they all told me a team with Kevster and Kai was going to look really bad.
But like I have more problems with the Justices win than I do with the Gladiators win. And I don't know if that has anything to do with just the two different contenders teams they played, but they both played contenders teams, and there were certain points where I think the Justice made very, very basic mistakes that the other team just failed to capitalize on. Whereas the Gladiators, I felt Dante did phenomenal. He led the team. Kevster did great. Because I hate to say it, but those are the only two games I watched in full. The other games I just kind of caught parts of. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I'm curious to see how the rest of this week goes. We haven't seen Boston yet. They didn't play today. We haven't seen Redbird, which is the strongest contenders team out of this bracket, supposedly. Like, how much does that mean anymore at this point? So we'll see how this goes at the end of, by the end of the week, it could be a completely different story. Like, maybe Gladiators are on like a mini season arc, and they start out strong today, and then the rest of the games they play like shit. They're just accelerating their formula. So I'm curious to see how things go. Now they do play twice tomorrow. One against Peps, which didn't look great. Like they were definitely one of those one tricky type teams. And then we'll see the first look at Boston, which Boston was, one of our picks for potentially scary. So we'll see how things go.
And I'm just hoping that, Redbirds actually shows up after, it didn't quite have a higher seed in regards to the qualifiers. There's a little bit of a downturn in regards to like what we've been accustomed to seeing from them, at least in the most recent contenders tournaments that we've had here in NA.
Yeah. We'll see who's on Redbirds now. Oh, Gig is on there, and McGrath are the only two names that I recognize.
Mhm.
So
And I heard Lemon talking on Clash Chat this week too, just about like, and Gig was like this back when he was in the Overwatch League proper, but like Gig is so aggressive that I think if you're a pretty standard Overwatch team, you just redirect that and get the easy win off of that.
especially with Mei in the meta
Mhm.
right now, like if you played the counter rush Mei Cassidy or counter rush Mei Hanzo is getting really popular. Um, you can take advantage of these super aggressive like tanks so easily. But yeah, we'll have to see. I look forward to having this talk again next week when we can be like, boy, after that first day, things totally went to shit.
I
I
mean,
just
two
still love
2 weeks, Spider. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 weeks.
All right, yeah, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Bi-weekly. So
Yeah.
after
So oh, you go.
I was gonna say after that, when is the tournament? Is that the week after, or is there a break in between the um, group stage and the tournament?
Uh,
Well, I think the actual like
Saturday,
tournament
April
part
8th.
is the third week, isn't it? Because you already have like some
Yep,
of the teams that have qualified through there.
it is. It is the third week. It start actually.
Yep, 8th and the 9th. It's a 2-day.
Actually, so it's next week. No, 2 weeks. Sorry, my calendar skipped a little further. No, it is next week, right? Because today's the 31st, so they're gonna play this week, and then it's gonna play the next weekend. So yeah.
Yeah, it's next Saturday and Sunday.
So by time we get back together again, this whole thing will be done,
Yep, and we'll have the new hero.
and we'll have the new hero. God, that show's gonna be fucking nuts. What day is that show? What are we? The 31st? That'll be the 14th. Okay, good. My anniversary is April Fool's Day, so as long as it doesn't fall on that way I never forget. That was
Man,
that,
Spyder went in with the plan that day too. That was his out.
yeah. No, I never forget our anniversary, and that was a fun wedding invitation too, because we're like, no, really, we're actually getting married today.
Happening.
It's happening, and then they all showed up and were like, April Fools. It's a $500 cover charge. No, just kidding.
Yeah, make them pay for the plate and then dash.
Yeah, exactly. If you'd like the food, $500. What's the food? You'll find out after you give me the $500, and it's the Fire Festival special.
Oh yeah.
And don't forget about the registry.
Yeah, exactly.
Got hit him on both fronts, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We are that
Have we
big.
gotten
Oh, go ahead.
have we gotten any sort of preview as far as what the new hero is going to
Nope.
be?
We were talking about that. We know they're cute and they have wacky mechanics.
And their support.
And
So
there's
they're Overwatch characters then. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. You mean everybody on the roster? All right.
and we also know
Yeah.
that they will be a Paladin's character in 2 months. Just with a different name and skin.
Yeah, I think now we should just start going through paladins and just be like, what characters do they have?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, yeah, I know it was a different scenario, but I feel like I know with Kiriko we had stuff out for like months in advance. Same thing for Junker Queen. We had stuff about a month in advance.
Yeah, we
I
are
don't know.
talking
It's
about-
interesting. There's just been not even nothing at all.
They're too cute. Like if they release it now, it'll kill all the hype because people will be like cuteness overload.
Do you think
Well,
that-
see, here's the thing. You know, remember back in the day when Overwatch is like, guys, we got something coming out and it's gonna break the internet. You guys remember what it was? It was a skin release.
It was Cat Diva, right? Wasn't it the Cat Diva?
the K-pop diva?
Was it the cat or the schoolgirl? Was it the schoolgirl?
It was
diva?
it was a schoolgirl.
It was a schoolgirl diva.
So it's just like at any point it's just like, oh man, I hope they're not gonna try to just like hype it up to be something absolutely astronomical that is never going to be able to live up to the hype. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, there's definitely times where they just blow things out of proportions, but I don't necessarily like when it's just like, all right, we're a couple of days out. What the hell's going on? And then boom, here it is.
Well,
So hopefully we'll
apparently,
get that like slow sprinkle at the start of the week, like we did with Kiriko.
apparently in April we're gonna get a lot of big like info dumps because they talked about how they're gonna do a roadmap in April. Um, Jared, one of the lead designers, basically confirmed that we're gonna get PVE news in April. Now, whether or not that's part of the roadmap, those two could be, part of the same announcement. We're getting the new hero announcement starting next week. Um, we're getting more information on the comp systems and stuff like that in April, like the changes that they're going to make. So hopefully they're like, we have trouble communicating. Okay, so the fix to that is to communicate. We're going to do that tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I told Totem Ramsey's like I have stuff ready for the new hero video that I want to put on our YouTube, but I have no content to put in it. Like I don't have anything for it. So we both expected something today, like some like Sombra ARG, like just like boop 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 Twitter announcement with like a 5-second video of like a voice line or something, or but nothing. Silence.
It's Jetpack Cat, guys. We're finally getting it 7 years in.
Yes. Today would have been a good day for it too, because with the announcement that E3 is canceled, everybody was like on Twitter and on gaming sites and stuff. That would have been an easy way to slide it in there. Be like, oh, E3's canceled. What? Overwatch has a Jetpack Cat now? Would have been great.
Planning's not the company's strong suit, I will say. So, who knows? Who knows?
No comment.
Give us more. It's been years. Can we get Mama Hong finally? That's all I want.
Diablo 4 was fun. I mean, I played that a lot. Too much. It makes me worried for when it comes out.
Did you go to KFC to get a double down to get beta access, or was it a pre-order?
No comment. No, I pre-ordered it. I have high blood pressure as it is, so a double down to me is like going to a suicide booth. Okay. But
I was just going to KFC anyways. I didn't even know there was beta access.
Yeah, I was there and they were like, "Here's Diablo codes," and I'm like, "What the fuck? Just give me my chicken."
Stop trying to eat right now. Leave me alone.
Hey, on the West Coast, here's a West Coast question for you. Do you still have KFCs that are tied to Long John Silver's? Like the dual?
Yes.
We don't have them here anymore. We used to have a whole
Neither
bunch
do
of
we.
them. And they all became just KFCs, which is weird because Maryland is a huge seafood like state. So I don't know if we were just snobby enough that like this isn't real seafood, so get the fuck out, kind of thing. But dude, I miss their popcorn shrimp.
I will say we do have those. There's one I'm aware of.
Okay.
I know there's one in my town, but like I don't know where the rest of them are. I've seen probably 2 or 3 here in SoCal, but I know of one.
We still have the KFC Taco Bell combos, but we don't have the KFC Long John Silver's anymore.
I think we may have one of those as well. I live in a very nice town. High society over here.
High society.
I'll trade one of those for an A&W though, just because I've never gotten to go to one of them.
We don't have.
Kentley definitely is a high society of sorts.
My wife actually used to work at A&W, but we don't have those anymore either. So, and we had a Steak and Shake for about 2 years, and then they closed down because everybody's like, "No, we're just gonna go to McDonald's or Five Guys." So, Maryland's weird about its fast food.
Five Guys in my town closed out of nowhere, so now we are without the Five Guys.
Oh, I think we have 4 in like a 5, maybe 10-mile radius from me. So we literally can say, let's go to Five Guys, but not that one.
No, not that one.
Not that one.
No,
The nice
not
one.
that one either.
The nice one. The one that's in the upscale area that has an Asian restaurant that I can't pronounce the name. Yeah. Well, I think we've rambled enough, gentlemen. This podcast has gone off the rails.
Well, you don't want to start drafting fast food restaurants?
Okay, I'll bring up the tier list. You've talked me into it. No, if I've learned anything, you never do a fast food tier list with 3 people.
No.
That's just gonna go horribly. And we all have our own tastes, and I appreciate everyone's tastes. But Wendy's burgers are great, but their fries are disgusting.
See, I've never had a visit to Wendy's that hasn't ended with either me or somebody in my group feeling horribly sick afterwards.
Well, that's part of the appeal. It's kind of like Arby's. Like, do you have to poop something? Arby's is the place to go.
Dude, when we were building my PC, my buddy came over and his girlfriend my buddy was gonna build it with me, and his girlfriend was gonna stop to pick up food. And I was like, well, it depends. Where is she going? And he was like, oh, Arby's. I'm like, oh, I'm good. I don't need
I'm good.
anything from Arby's.
I'm good. No, thank you.
Literally, Spyder, I'm here building my computer, and he is giving commands from the bathroom, like how to do it,
Yeah.
because it destroyed him.
Nope.
So Arby's, if you want to sponsor us, Arby's, we're here. I guarantee this is the most times Arby's has been said in a non-food related podcast in
Arby's.
the past 6 months.
It's technically food.
And while you're at it, you gotta give us some of those meat sweats. The sweatpants.
Oh, okay.
Well, now that we've shit on almost every
Okay,
fast food-
now I'm ready to end the show. Okay.
But yeah. So again, guys, we are still recording bi-weekly. So for our next episode, we'll wrap up the Pro Am West. We'll also have the details on the next hero release and get our hands on that. And who knows? Maybe Spyder will also have something out on the YouTube at that point for the new hero. Time will tell, since he has all of that stuff ready. But in the meantime, of course, if you guys are looking to keep in contact with us, you can find all of us over on social media, as well as the podcast. You can reach us via email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at hndoverwatch. All of our video content is up on our YouTube at Overwatch League Network. And of course, you can also join us over on our community Discord at discord.me/OWLN show. And outside of that, you can also find all 3 of us there on socials as well. So, Spyder, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at _Spyder Gaming. Ramses, where can they find you?
You can find me at Ramses_GG.
And as for myself, you can find me on Twitter at TotallyDrunk. And you can also find me streaming over on Kick at kick.com/TotallyDrunk.
And you can find us streaming on YouTube and Twitch again. So that's kind of fun. We're streaming on both. We don't have enough gambling to stream on Kick. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could technically still stream on Kick.
Well,
there is a podcast category, but it's not really when it's used. I was looking at it earlier.
It's gamblers support, like Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Unanonymous,
something like that.
Oh man. All right, I'm going to bed.
Sounds good.
Good night, stream.
Bye, stream.
You guys take care.